Alright folks, picture this. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, probably feeling pretty pleased with himself, steps up to a podium and decides he's going to take down President Donald Trump. He launches into this whole tirade, hitting him on everything from legal battles to international awards, just trying to make him look small. But what happens next is pure political gold. Just a little while later, on live television, Trump fires back. He's not yelling, he's not angry, he's calm, he's sharp, and his words just completely dismantle Pritzker. The governor is left looking absolutely shell-shocked, and the crowd just goes wild. This whole showdown became one of those moments everyone was talking about for the rest of the year. It put Pritzker's cockiness on full display and just cemented Trump's image as this incredibly confident leader. Our 47th president. So let's set the scene. We're in the Chicago press hall. The cameras are on, and you can just feel the tension in the air. All the reporters are leaning in, pencils ready, as Governor Pritzker starts talking, his voice getting louder because he's determined to be the big story of the day. And the words coming out of his mouth are just dripping with contempt. Listen, he says, you've all been hearing a flood of dishonesty from the vice president. And you've seen it from Trump himself. This entire administration is run by a convicted felon. He goes on, he's made threats against me, against the people of this state. But I'm not intimidated. He couldn't win in federal court. He didn't get the Nobel Prize. And believe me, he's going to lose again. You could hear a pin drop. Then Pritzker leans right into the mics, his face all red with this arrogant look. And he says, talking right to the president, I'm telling you, come and get me. You are so wrong, Mr. Trump. You don't intimidate me, and you don't intimidate the people of Illinois. This is our state, and I will always defend the rule of law. Man, those words just hung in the air. Come and get me. It was like a challenge thrown down in the middle of a saloon. For a second, it was dead silent. Then you could hear people whispering. It just spread through the room. Some of the reporters are just shaking their heads like they can't believe what they just heard. Others are already smiling, typing out headlines on their phones. But nobody, and I mean nobody, had any idea what was about to unfold. In just a few minutes, that clip of Pritzker's big speech was everywhere online. Come and get me, the captions screamed. It was on repeat on X. The hashtags were going crazy. Hashtag come and get me. Hashtag Pritzker v. Trump. Some people were laughing, others were just furious. But while all this chaos was exploding on the internet, picture this, inside a private media room at the White House. President Donald J. Trump is just sitting there, calmly watching the whole thing on a screen. He's not flustered, he's not mad, he looks totally composed, maybe even a little amused. His aides, on the other hand, are looking at each other, totally stressed out. Sir, one of them asks, all nervous, should we start writing up a response? Trump just leans back in his chair, a little smile playing on his lips. Not just yet, he says, his voice quiet. Let him keep talking. The more rope he gives himself, the easier it's going to be for me to pull it. Vice President J.D. Vance is standing there with his arms crossed, just shaking his head. That's just pure arrogance, he says under his breath. He thinks by daring you, he looks tough. All it really shows is that he's afraid. Trump's eyes never left the screen. Exactly, he said, and when I do respond, it's not going to be with insults. It's going to be with the truth. And the truth, when you just say it plain and simple, cuts a lot deeper than any name-calling ever could. The room got quiet again. The president was getting ready. And everyone in that room knew that when Donald Trump finally decided to speak, the entire world would stop to listen. Now, there was a rally scheduled in Springfield, Illinois, that had been on the books for a long time, way before Pritzker decided to have his little outburst. But now, that rally felt completely different. The atmosphere in that arena was electric. It was packed with thousands of patriots. People decked out in red, white, and blue. The chants of USA, USA were so loud you could feel the floor shake. Every single person there had heard what the governor had said, and they were all there waiting for one thing, to hear how Trump was going to answer. Down in the front rows, you could see families holding up signs that said, "Make Illinois safe again. Trump 47, and drain the swamp." I saw an older woman. She had tears in her eyes, and she whispered to the man next to her, "How could Pritzker say those things about him, after everything he's done for us, for this country?" The stage lights got brighter. You could see the Secret Service agents talking into their earpieces. And then the crowd just erupted as Trump walked out. He came out slowly, raised his hand to greet everyone. But this wasn't the usual high-energy entrance. He stopped at the podium and just let that wave of energy from the crowd wash over him and settle down. His face was calm, totally composed, but you could see a fire in his eyes. A little spark that told you something truly memorable was about to happen. "Folks," he started, his voice completely steady, "I hear your governor had quite a bit to say about me earlier today." The whole arena went silent. You could almost hear hearts pounding. Every camera in the place was pointed at him. The storm was here. And of course, every news network was playing Pritzker's challenge on a loop. You could hear his voice bouncing around on split screens. "Come and get me. Mr. President, you were dead wrong." On X, that video was getting millions of views every hour. The comment sections were just on fire. Some people were making fun of Trump. Others were defending him like their lives depended on it. But here's what most people didn't get. Trump's silence wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a strategy. Backstage at the rally in Illinois, the screens were playing that same clip over and over. Some of his staff were whispering, worried that the governor had managed to trap the president with this really aggressive narrative. But the people who really knew Trump, they could see what was actually happening. Trump was just standing there calmly, nodding along almost, like every insult was just more fuel for the fire. His confidence was so solid it was actually making some of his own aides nervous. "Sir," one of them whispered, "everyone is waiting." Trump leaned in. His voice was totally steady. "He wants to see me get angry," he said. "I'm not going to give him that. I'm going to give him the truth. And when I'm done giving it to him, he's going to wish he never opened his mouth." Outside, the crowd started chanting even louder. "USA, USA." The sound was shaking the walls. The moment of truth was just seconds away. Inside that rally, the emotions were running so high. You had mothers holding their kids tight. Veterans standing at attention, their fists raised in a silent protest against Pritzker's words. I saw tears streaming down the face of one elderly woman. She just kept whispering, "Why would a governor talk about our president like that? Hasn't he done enough for us already?" The reporters were all lined up, their pens flying across their notepads, just waiting for the comeback. The cameras zoomed in tight on the podium as everyone held their breath. Trump walked up to the microphone slowly. He didn't rush. He didn't have to. Just the power of his presence was enough to quiet thousands of people. "Folks," he began. His voice was soft, but you could hear the firmness underneath. "Today, you heard your governor say some pretty disgraceful things. He called your president a loser. He made fun of the fight to keep Chicago safe. And he dared me to come and get him." The crowd started booing right away. Just this rolling wave of anger. But Trump just held up his hand and silenced them. "Don't you worry," he said, "because tonight, I'm going to tell you the truth about J.B. Pritzker. And when I'm finished, he's going to regret every single word he said." The place just exploded in applause. It was deafening. Pritzker's big gamble had already blown up in his face. And Trump hadn't even gotten started yet. The camera zoomed in on Trump's face. His voice was steady, but you could see his eyes were burning with conviction. This wasn't just politics anymore. This was personal. He said, "I lost in federal court." He said, "I lost a Nobel Prize." Trump let that hang in the air for a second. "But let me ask you a question," he continued. "Who was the real loser here? Did America lose when I fought to send the National Guard into Chicago to protect innocent people?" The crowd roared back, "No, the people of Illinois lost," Trump declared, "when their own governor fought against keeping them safe." You could hear people gasping all over the audience. I saw a father in the crowd just instinctively grab his son's hand a little tighter. Trump's words were just cutting through the noise like a knife. "And as for that Nobel Prize," he went on, "who really cares about some award from a bunch of global elites who gave one to Obama for doing absolutely nothing? I don't need awards to prove my worth. My award is standing right here with all of you, fighting for America every single day." The crowd just went insane, chanting his name. Backstage, you could see his staff exchanging these knowing looks. This was it. This was the moment. Trump wasn't just lashing out wildly. He was building his case. Piece by piece, brick by brick. And once that wall of truth was built, J.B. Pritzker's arrogance was going to come crashing right down. The storm was about to hit. The arena was completely silent, except for the quiet hum of the cameras. Trump was leaning on the podium. His voice was very measured. "Your governor," he said, "claims I'm a loser because a federal judge stopped me from sending the National Guard into Chicago. Just think about that for a second. A judge prevents me from protecting innocent men, women, and children, and your governor celebrates that. He calls that a victory." You could hear the gasps from the crowd. Mothers were clutching their children a little closer. Up in the front row, I saw veterans just bowing their heads, shaking them in disbelief. Trump continued, "I offered to help when gangs were tearing through your neighborhoods, when your weekends were filled with news of shootings. But Pritzker said no. He called it an invasion. So you tell me, who's the real loser, the president who tried to save lives, or the governor who stood by and let Chicago bleed?" Tears started to well up in people's eyes. A man in a military uniform raised his fist and shouted, "You're right, Mr. President." The whole crowd then started chanting, "Trump, Trump," and through all of this, Trump just stayed completely calm. He wasn't done yet. Trump paused, letting the crowd's energy settle a bit. His next words were delivered with this chilling precision. "And then he wants to talk about the Nobel Prize. Folks, let me tell you something. I don't need some trophy from a bunch of global elites who gave Barack Obama an award for doing nothing. I don't need a round of applause from Europe. My prize is you, the American people. My award is your jobs, your safety, your freedom." The arena erupted in cheers again. But Trump just raised his hand, his expression getting sharper. "Now," he said, "let's talk about your governor. J.B. Pritzker says I'm corrupt. But what about him?" He leaned in a little. "In 2018, he had the toilets ripped out of one of his mansions. Yes, folks, actual toilets. Why? So he could dodge over $300 in property taxes. The Inspector General called it what it was, fraud. Straight up fraud, and he only paid the money back when he got caught red-handed." The audience gasped. You could see reporters scrambling to fact-check what he was saying. Trump's voice never wavered. "This is the man who's calling me a loser. A man who cheats his own state out of tax money while families right here are struggling just to pay their bills." The applause was like thunder. Pritzker's whole arrogant act was just unraveling right there in front of the entire country. A few blocks away from the rally, in the diners and living rooms all over Springfield, TVs were replaying Trump's words. People were just glued to their screens. Some were nodding along, whispering, "Finally, someone said it." Others were just shaking their heads, totally shocked to hear about Pritzker's scandal. Back at the rally, Trump kept going, and it doesn't end there. "Folks, businesses are leaving Illinois because of him. The billionaire Ken Griffin, he packed up his company, Citadel, and he said it himself, crime, corruption, and high taxes made Chicago impossible to live in. Families are moving out. Jobs are disappearing. That's on Pritzker, not on me." The crowd roared its agreement. I saw a young woman in tears waving a sign that said, "Protect Chicago. Thank you, Trump." Trump's tone softened for a moment. "You all deserve leaders who are going to protect you, not betray you. You deserve safety, not chaos. And what do you have instead? You have a governor who is spending billions of dollars on illegal migrants while your own schools are falling apart and your streets are burning." A wave of emotion just swept through the arena. People were hugging each other. Some were openly sobbing. This wasn't just about politics anymore. This was personal. Trump paused again, his eyes scanning the crowd. He was just getting started, just beginning to peel back the layers. Pritzker had dared him, and now he was delivering one knockout blow after another. The cameras stayed locked on Trump as he leaned in closer to the microphone. His voice got lower, but it was steady and sharp. "J.B. Pritzker says I lost," he said, "but let me ask you, who's really losing here? Is it me, or is it the families in Chicago who can't even walk down their own streets at night? Is it the mothers who are burying their children because of gang violence? Is it the fathers who have to leave the state because businesses are collapsing under his corrupt leadership?" The audience was frozen. His words just hung in the air, heavy. A mother in the front row was sobbing quietly, nodding her head as if he was speaking directly to her own pain. Trump let that silence sit there for a moment. Then he continued, "When I fought to send in the National Guard, it wasn't about politics, it was about protecting human lives. But your governor, instead of saying, 'Thank you,' he fought against it, because he would rather score political points than save his own people." The arena erupted in boos directed at Pritzker. Some people stood up, their fists in the air. chanting, "Shame, shame." Trump just paused and watched the emotions swell. He had hit a nerve. Pritzker's mockery was collapsing under the weight of real lives being lost. The president's tone got sharp again, his hand cutting through the air as he spoke. "And this is the man who dares to call me corrupt. Let's not forget about the toilets. Folks, remember, he ripped the toilets out of his own mansion just so he could avoid paying property taxes. Hundreds of thousands of dollars stolen from the people of Illinois. He got caught. He got busted. It was fraud. That's who J.B. Pritzker is." You could hear people gasping all through the arena. A man in the back yelled out, "Thief!" and others joined in, their voices raw with anger. Trump pressed on. "This isn't just some little mistake. This is who he is. He's a man who would rather cheat the system than serve the people. A man who laughs at hardworking families while he plays his billionaire games. And then he gets on TV and calls your president a loser. That's rich. That's just pathetic." The crowd was thundering with chants of "Lock him up." For a moment, even the reporters seemed to lower their pens, realizing the gravity of what had just been said. Trump had successfully turned the spotlight off of himself and onto Pritzker, and that light was blinding. Then, Trump's voice softened. It almost seemed to break, as he changed his tone. "You know what hurts the most?" he asked. "It's not his insults. I can take that. It's the fact that while he's making fun of me, families right here are hurting. I've walked through neighborhoods where parents are crying because their kids can't play outside without being afraid. I've met police officers who are begging for backup because they're completely outnumbered. And every single time I offered to help, Pritzker said no." The audience went silent. A lot of people were wiping tears from their eyes. The pain in that room was real. Trump's eyes scanned the crowd and settled on a young man in a military uniform. "Our soldiers, our police, our ICE officers, they put their lives on the line every single day. And this governor, he spits on their sacrifice. He blocks them. He mocks them. That is not leadership. That is betrayal." The young man in uniform saluted, tears streaming down his face. The audience broke into applause so loud the cameras started to shake. Trump looked right into the lens, his voice firm again. "He told me to come and get him. He said, well, tonight, I came with the truth. And the truth is already making him regret it." Trump straightened his notes, his voice calm but sharp as a razor. "Let's talk about jobs. Folks, remember Citadel? The billionaire Ken Griffin didn't just leave Chicago. He said it wasn't a hard decision to leave. Why? Because of crime, because of corruption, because of sky-high taxes. Businesses are fleeing Illinois like never before. Families are packing their bags, trying to escape the disaster that Pritzker has created." People in the audience were shaking their heads, murmuring to each other in frustration. A factory worker in the second row clenched his fist and whispered, "That's my cousin. He moved out last year." Trump raised his hand towards the crowd. "I'm here fighting to bring jobs back to America. Energy independence, manufacturing, helping small businesses thrive. Meanwhile, your governor is chasing him away. He calls me a loser. But he's the one who's running a losing state. Illinois is burning because of him." The crowd erupted with chants of "USA! USA!" Tears were rolling down the cheeks of a man holding an American flag. He whispered, "Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you." Trump leaned forward, his tone heavy with conviction. "While families in Illinois are struggling to pay their rent, buy groceries, and put gas in their cars, your governor is wasting billions of dollars on migrants who came here illegally. $400 million for their free healthcare. Hundreds of millions more for handouts. And who pays for that? You do. Every single hardworking family in Illinois pays while he just gives it all away." The arena was buzzing with anger. A woman stood up holding a sign that read, "I work 3 jobs. Where's my help?" She was sobbing as the crowd cheered for her. Trump's voice sharpened. "And let's not forget his mansion scam. He literally ripped toilets out of his own bathrooms to cheat the system. The Inspector General called it fraud. That's who J.B. Pritzker really is. He's a fraud. He's a thief. And he has the nerve to call me corrupt." The crowd roared. Some were chanting, "Shame! Shame!" Others were crying openly, feeling that sense of betrayal. Trump just nodded solemnly. "I fight for you," he said. "He steals from you. That's the truth." Trump paused, his eyes softening as he looked out at the faces in front of him. "Folks, I've met so many families here in Illinois. Mothers who have lost their sons to gang violence. Fathers who can't find a job because businesses have fled. Children who are growing up afraid to even play outside. And I ask myself, why would a governor mock me for trying to help them? Why would he fight against protecting them? A hush fell over the arena. An elderly veteran wiped away his tears and saluted silently. A little girl was waving a tiny American flag while her mother held her close. Trump's voice grew firm again. J.B. Pritzker has a case of Trump derangement syndrome. He's not focused on you. He is obsessed with me. He thinks that attacking me makes him look strong. But every single attack just proves one thing: he is terrified of the truth. And tonight, the truth is setting people free. The crowd just exploded with applause, cheers, and tears all at once. The reporters were capturing the whole emotional scene, whispering to each other, "This is history." Trump raised his hand high. "America is winning again," he declared, "and Illinois will win, too, when the people finally see through his lies." Trump adjusted the microphone. His voice was steady, but it was filled with this biting humor. "Folks, let me tell you something tremendous. J.B. Pritzker, Jabba the Pritzker. I call him, because he's a big, bloated disaster, just like the mess he's made of Illinois. He thinks he can come after me. Donald J. Trump, the greatest president this country has ever seen. And get away with it. Oh no, not on my watch." The crowd just erupted in laughter and applause. Trump let the moment hang in the air for a second before he continued. "He walks around all puffed up like a balloon at one of his family's hotels, Hyatt. Right, except they don't even want him there. They kicked him out because he's such a failure. And then he has the nerve to stand on TV and call me a loser." The audience booed Pritzker's name. Their voices rising together, a woman in the crowd cried out, "You're our winner, Mr. President." Trump nodded, smiling softly. "That's right," he said, "because I fight for America." And while he mocks, while he laughs, Illinois suffers. The president's tone grew firmer, sharper. Pritzker says, "Come and get me," like he's some tough guy from a bad movie. That's not leadership. That's immaturity. That's weakness. It's Trump derangement syndrome. Folks, he's obsessed with me. Obsessed. Instead of fixing Chicago, he spends all his energy making fun of Donald Trump. The crowd booed loudly. Chants of "shame, shame" filled the air. Trump raised his hand to quiet him down. He calls it an invasion when I send help. But let me ask you, what do you call it when gangs are running the streets? When illegal immigrants are pouring in by the thousands? That's the invasion, and I'm the one who's fighting to stop it. The applause was deafening. Veterans in the front row saluted. Children waved their flags, and tears rolled down the cheeks of parents who were holding pictures of loved ones they had lost. Trump's voice was filled with emotion. "I offered help to protect the families of Chicago." He said, "No, that's not courage. That's betrayal." Trump paused, looking straight into the cameras with this sly little smile. "And you know what else? Folks, he mocked me personally, so I'm going to give him a little something back. J.B. Pritzker should probably go on a diet. Too much fat on his body is making him lose his senses." The arena just exploded in laughter. Even the reporters were cracking these uneasy smiles, scribbling furiously. The humor was as sharp as a knife, and it just cut right through the heavy tension in the room. But all jokes aside, Trump continued, his tone turning serious again. "It's not about his weight. It's about his character. He's immature, he's reckless, he's a fraud, and he has failed every single one of you. He spends billions of your dollars on illegal immigrants while American families right here are suffering. He is not fit to lead a state, let alone even think about leading this country." The audience stood up, chanting, "USA, USA," louder than ever before. Some were wiping away tears, caught somewhere between laughter and this deep sense of emotion. Trump just nodded, calm but resolute. "He told me to come and get him." He said, "Well, tonight, I came with the truth. And the truth is destroying his lies." Trump leaned forward on the podium, his tone cutting sharper now. "Let's talk about fraud, folks. Real fraud. You all remember the mansion story, don't you? Pritzker ripped out every single toilet from one of his mansions. 5 bathrooms. Gone. Just to trick Cook County into lowering his property taxes. That's $330 stolen from the taxpayers of Illinois. The Inspector General called it straight up fraud. And he only paid it back after he got caught. That's not leadership. That's corruption." Gasps filled the hall. Mothers were shaking their heads in disgust. Fathers were folding their arms in frustration. One elderly man shouted, "Shame on him." Trump's voice softened. It was almost sorrowful. Think about that, folks. While families in Illinois are struggling to pay their bills, he's cheating the system. While hard-working moms are clipping coupons, he's ripping out toilets to dodge his taxes. And then he has the nerve to call me a loser. The crowd erupted with boos aimed right at Pritzker's name. The contrast couldn't be clearer. Trump was standing tall, defending ordinary Americans, while Pritzker looked small, exposed, and dishonest. Trump didn't let that momentum slip. He raised his hand, commanding silence. Look around at Illinois today. Businesses are fleeing, families are packing up, jobs are vanishing. And do you know why? Because J.B. Pritzker has made it impossible to live and thrive in this state. He paused, his eyes narrowing. Ken Griffin, a billionaire who loved Chicago. He left, and he said it wasn't even a hard decision. Why? Because of crime, because of sky-high taxes, because of Pritzker's failures. And that's just one example. Hundreds of companies have done the same thing. Think of all the jobs that are gone, the families that have been uprooted, the communities that have been broken. The audience grew emotional. Fathers were clutching their children tighter. Veterans were shaking their heads at the shame of it all. And yet, Trump continued, Pritzker spends billions, on illegal immigrants. By the end of this year, Illinois will have blown $2.5 billion on migrant care. That's your money, folks. Money that should be going to your roads, your schools, your hospitals. The crowd roared with anger. Chants of USA, USA thundered through the arena. Trump let it rise, then calmly spoke. This isn't leadership, it's betrayal. The president's voice carried more weight now, each word striking like a hammer. And Pritzker, he said, he's no different than Gavin Newsom. They're two peas in a pod. Billionaire governors, both of them disasters, both of them trying to run for president in 2028. Both of them failures. Newsom bankrupted California, and Pritzker is doing the exact same thing to Illinois. They're like twins in corruption. All talk, no results, and endless scandals. He leaned in closer to the crowd, lowering his voice just enough to make the entire arena lean forward with him. You see, folks, these Democrats, they don't hate me because of who I am. They hate me because I expose them. I expose their lies, their fraud, their corruption. They hate that I fight for you, for the American worker, the American farmer, the American family. That's why they attack me. Tears welled up in the eyes of some of the listeners. Trump's words weren't just political anymore. They were personal. People felt seen. They felt defended. And that's why, he concluded, when Pritzker says, "Come and get me," I don't have to. The truth already did. And tonight, he regrets every single word. The applause shook the hall. And even the reporters were left speechless, just scribbling down what would be remembered as one of Trump's sharpest comebacks in years. Trump leaned into the microphone, his voice cutting through the hall with this calm precision. J.B. Pritzker dares to say he's standing up for the people of Illinois. No, folks, he's standing on their backs. He's crushing them. You can't stand for the people when you raise their taxes sky high. When you waste their hard-earned dollars on people who aren't even citizens. And when you let criminals run your streets unchecked. The crowd booed, shaking their heads. Mothers were hugging their children tighter, tears in their eyes. Think of the families in Chicago. Trump continued. Parents who are scared to let their kids walk to school because gangs run wild. Think of the small businesses that are closing down. The workers who are leaving because they just can't afford to stay. That's not standing up for the people. That's abandoning them. The words cut deep. The audience wasn't just clapping now, they were emotional. Some were visibly crying, feeling the reality of what Trump was describing. Pritzker dares me to come and get him. But the truth is already here tonight. And it's not on his side. It's on your side. It's on America's side. The president's tone hardened, every sentence hitting like a hammer. Pritzker doesn't want you to know about his corruption. But I'll tell you, that toilet scam, that was just the beginning. This man bought his way into the governorship. $172 million of his own money. No accountability, no outside donors, just raw greed. And since then, it's been one scandal after another. Shady deals, ties to Madigan and the same swamp that has destroyed Illinois for decades. Gasps spread through the crowd. The energy in the room grew heavy, as though everyone was just then realizing the depth of the betrayal. Trump paused, lowering his voice almost to a whisper. 4 of Illinois' last 10 governors have gone to prison. Just think about that. And Pritzker is walking down the exact same road. The only difference is, he's fatter in body and fatter in corruption. The crowd just erupted in laughter mixed with anger. Tears were streaming down some faces from both emotions just colliding at once. Trump let them settle before adding, "He mocks me, but he's the one who's living in a glass house made of fraud, greed, and failure." Trump's eyes scanned the crowd. His hand over his heart for a moment. His tone shifted. It was slower, more heartfelt. "Folks, let me tell you why I fight. I don't fight for billionaires like Pritzker. I fight for the factory worker in Joliet who just lost his job. I fight for the mother in Englewood who just wants her son to come home safe from school. I fight for the farmer in downstate Illinois who can't afford diesel because of these Democrat policies. That's who I fight for." The arena grew silent, hanging on his every word. Some in the crowd were sobbing quietly. The weight of their own struggles mirrored in Trump's words. "And Pritzker," he continued, "he fights for himself, for his ego, for his billionaire buddies. He calls me a loser because I lost a case in federal court and didn't win a Nobel Prize. Folks, I don't need some committee in Europe to tell me what I've done for America. You tell me, every family here tells me. That's my prize. Your trust, your love, your belief in this country." The crowd exploded. "USA, USA," echoing louder than ever before. Trump smiled softly. "That's why we win. Because truth always wins." The camera zoomed in as Trump raised his hand for silence. The arena obeyed instantly. "Let's be very clear," he said slowly, his voice steady and sharp. "When J.B. Pritzker mocks me about courts and Nobel Prizes, he's not mocking me, he's mocking you, the American people who voted for me to clean up this disaster. He thinks your pain is a joke. He thinks your struggles are comedy. But I don't laugh at families who have lost loved ones to the violence in Chicago. I don't laugh when seniors in Illinois can't afford their medicine while billions of dollars are going to illegal migrants." The crowd grew quiet. Some people were clutching their flags. Others were wiping away tears. Trump leaned forward. "Pritzker calls me a loser. But if fighting for you makes me a loser in his eyes, then I will wear that title proudly. Because I would rather be your fighter than his coward." The applause thundered like rolling waves. People stood up, chanting, "USA, USA." The sound shook the walls. And even the reporters in the press section looked stunned. Trump's words didn't just cut down Pritzker, they cut right to the very heart of the American spirit. Trump turned his gaze upward. His hand pressed to his chest again, a rare crack of emotion shining in his eyes. "I didn't run for president to win prizes in Europe," he said. "I didn't run to be loved by the elites. I ran to protect you. Your children, your homes, your dreams." His voice caught for just a second, and the audience leaned in closer, almost holding their breath. "Do you know what matters to me? It's not a medal, it's not applause from some global committees. It's when I meet a veteran who says, 'Mr. President, thank you for caring.' It's when a mother tells me her son came home safe because we cracked down on gangs. That's my Nobel Prize." Tears were flowing freely in the audience. Some people were weeping openly, waving their flags and whispering prayers. Trump's voice grew firm again. "And meanwhile, Pritzker lines his pockets, cheats the taxpayers, and dares to call himself a leader. That is not leadership. That is betrayal." The room erupted. The chant changed to, "Trump, Trump, Trump," echoing louder than before, drowning out even the clicks of the cameras. Then came the moment that would be replayed for weeks. Trump looked directly into the camera, as if he was staring straight into Pritzker's eyes. "You dare me to come and get you, JB? I don't need to move an inch. The truth has already come for you. And it's crushing you." The crowd roared, but Trump held his hand up, waiting for silence again. "You mocked my fight in the courts. But those courts didn't stop me from sending help to the people of Chicago. You mocked the Nobel Prize. But no award on earth will ever mean more than the cheers of Americans tonight who know the truth. And you mock me as a convicted felon. JB, you've convicted yourself in the court of public opinion. Every family that's been hurt under your watch knows you failed them. And they will never forgive you for that." The audience erupted into cheers so loud that reporters covering the event said their earpieces nearly shattered. It was the crushing blow. The line that made Pritzker's earlier arrogance look like nothing but a child's tantrum. The arena was shaking with chants of "USA, USA." As Trump leaned back from the podium, his voice got lower, but it struck deeper than ever. Pritzker says, "I lost the Nobel Prize. But let me tell you something, folks. That prize has never kept a single child safe in Chicago. That prize has never put food on the table for a family struggling in Springfield. That prize has never lowered gas prices or created a single job. But I did those things. I delivered." The silence in the room was heavy. Then the tears began. Mothers in the front row were clutching their children. Fathers were wiping their eyes. Veterans were standing and saluting. Trump wasn't just speaking, he was feeling with the people. And JB mocks that. He mocks you. He dares me to come and get him as if this is some Hollywood movie. But this is real life. People are suffering while he plays his little games. And tonight, the truth has caught up to him. The audience exploded again, but this time, many were sobbing as they clapped. A mix of emotion and patriotism tangled up in a way that no one in that building would ever forget. Then came the quiet moment. The one that would be replayed on every screen in America. Trump pointed directly into the cameras. His voice calm and devastating. "J.B. Pritzker, you are a failed man. You mocked me tonight, but you ended up mocking every single American family that works hard and asks for nothing but fairness and safety. You called me a loser, but I would rather lose a Nobel Prize than lose my soul. You've lost both, and that's why you will never lead this country." The words just echoed in the silence that followed. Even some of the reporters, who were usually hostile, looked shaken. Trump leaned closer. "You said, 'Come and get me,' but I don't need to. The truth already got you, and it will never let you go." The audience just erupted, screaming, waving flags, chanting his name. The emotional weight of his words had crushed Pritzker's arrogance in an instant. It wasn't about politics anymore. It was about good versus corruption, strength versus betrayal. As the crowd's chants filled the hall, Trump raised both of his hands, signaling one last message. His voice carried this mix of pride and tenderness. "America, never forget, this fight is not about me. It's about you, the farmers, the workers, the mothers, the children. I promise to stand with you, and I always will, no matter what J.B. Pritzker or any other failed politician says. I will never stop fighting for you." The crowd roared. Some were weeping openly. Flags were waving. "USA, USA," thundered louder than ever before. The cameras captured faces just drenched in tears. People who felt seen, who felt defended, and who felt loved by their president. Trump smiled, his voice softening. "Together, we will keep America safe. Together, we will keep America strong. And together, we will keep America great again." And again, the audience rose to their feet in unison, clapping, crying, and cheering with this unstoppable energy. It was the perfect emotional climax. The kind of moment that would live forever in their memories. And now, dear viewers, if this story moved you, if you felt that fire, that pride, and that truth, then don't just sit there. Smash that like button, drop a comment and share your thoughts. And subscribe right now to Storytime with Green. And for those of you who want to go even deeper, join our membership today to unlock some powerful special features and to support the stories that fight for the heart of America. This isn't just a story. It's a movement. Be a part of it.